All right. I left the cheesecake on the table because next year when I come back to this, I want to be able to fit into these slim fit suits. So I'm a work in progress, Coach Mead. All right. What an honor to be here with you guys this evening. I am just beyond impressed. I got a chance to speak earlier, and I've been here since last night. And this place is just absolutely tremendous. And it's a credit to Barry and his staff and the job that they've done. It's just not like this everywhere. I hope that you guys understand that. That was one of my big takeaways so far, is just this is beyond anything that I've seen from a state convention. So kudos to you guys and the work that you do. You know, Barry asked me to speak about a week ago here at this banquet, and I'm sure that's not a surprise to many of you, but I gladly obliged, and I said, hey, absolutely, I'd love to do that. So I was on a run later that day, and the word that came up in my mind was contagious proximity. It's a word that I've heard a lot recently. And the genesis of that word, contagious proximity, it's really about we catch who and what we're around. So we catch the people, the energy that they have, the things that they put on our mind, the lessons that they teach us. And it's the same thing. We catch what we're around every day too. The music that we put in our ears, the things that we listen to, the books that we read. It's contagious proximity. The best sports example that I know that I'd like to share with you tonight comes from UCLA basketball. And so John Wooden, I'm a huge John Wooden guy, as I'm sure many of you are as well. And there was a guy that the younger audience would know him because he's on NBA and college basketball as a color commentator. His name's Bill Walton. The older people would know him from his time in the NBA. He had a fantastic career. He was an All-American. So after his first 2 years at UCLA, John Wooden says, hey, I got to find a way to push this guy. I got to find a way to challenge him. And so like any great college coach, he goes on the recruiting trail. And he finds this junior college center named Swin Nader. And if I were to tell you the name Swin Nader, I think there would probably be very few people in the audience that would recognize that name. But Nader was a big physical man that had a lot of opportunities, a lot of offers from other places, but he wanted to go play at UCLA, and Wooden knew that. So Wooden went into his house and he said, hey, listen, Swin, you may never play here at UCLA, but I need you to come into our environment and I need you to push Bill Walton to be the best center in the country. And that's exactly what Nader did. For the next 2 years, Nader trained right alongside, day after day, practice after practice, alongside Bill Walton. And together they won national championships and they had historic careers. Walton in the NBA, and this was back when they had 2 professional leagues, and Nader was very successful, played 12 years in the ABA, and then played overseas as well. And so the idea is that when we create great environments, when we create environments of contagious proximity, kind of like tonight, a lot of really high achievers in the same room together, we all have an opportunity to grow, and we all have an opportunity to get the best out of ourselves. And so if you're a coach, a lot of these coaches that are here tonight that we're celebrating, it's because of the environments that you create. And it's the same thing for the players that have had outstanding years and performances that we're recognizing. It's because you were in those environments and you helped create those environments. I know for me personally, Kurt mentioned I'm a Division III baseball player. So when recruits and their families come into my office, they often ask, what position do you play? And I say, well, I was a two-way, but really I was a no-way, as in there's no way I should have been on the field, if you catch my drift. So anyway, after my college playing career, I sent out a bunch of emails. I wanted to coach, right? That was my goal. I knew from the time I was 12 years old, I want to be a college coach. Sent out hundreds of emails, very few responses, but there was one response from a guy named Jim McGuire. I know Coach Mead knows Coach McGuire really well. A lot of people in the room probably know Mags. That's what we call him. And Mags said, hey, I'm trying to hire a director of baseball operations. It's an off-the-field position. I've never had one before, but I'd love for you to come up and interview. So I interviewed with Mags. He said, when can you start? So I said, well, I don't know. How about a week from now? He said, great. The problem with that was I had no money, I had no place to live, and I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I was 22 years old. I was lost. And so I emailed the only people in Murfreesboro, Tennessee that I knew, and it was the May family, Scott and Kim May. I played baseball with their son, Zach. And I emailed Kim and I said, hey, Kim, I'm moving to Murfreesboro next week. Do you know of any place where I could try to get an apartment or stay for a while? And without question, she opened up her home. They opened up their home. And I lived with Scott and Kim for the next year while I just tried to make some money and get my feet on the ground and figure out what I was doing in this world called college baseball. And I think back to those two people, Scott and Kim, and then of course Mags. For 3 years, I got to learn alongside Mags. After my first year, I got promoted into the volunteer role, spent the next 2 years in that capacity with him. And I learned about running the program, not just the baseball stuff, but how do you run the program in a classy manner? That's the way I've heard people describe Mags for the extent of our relationship. He's a classy individual. So I learned how to engage with alums, how to host events, how to recruit the right way, or what he thought was the right way. And so as I reflect on those three people, I think about contagious proximity, and I think about the fingerprints that they put on my career. If you come and you watch the University of Charleston, Jim McGuire has his fingerprints all over that program now because of the way that he grew me up in the profession. It's the same thing now that I'm a husband and a father. I've got 3 beautiful kids, and I think about the hospitality and the generosity that Scott and Kim May had for a kid that they didn't really know. And so my challenge for us tonight is, if you're a Hall of Famer that's going into this wonderful Hall of Fame, I encourage you to think about the fingerprints of the careers that you've touched, because I'm sure it's vast and I'm sure it's many. And if you're a player that we're celebrating tonight, I hope that you'll do the same thing on the other end. You'll think about the fingerprints. Maybe it was that 3rd grade teacher that challenged you to be more, or it was that one college recruiting coordinator that walked into your junior college and gave you the opportunity to play Division I baseball. Whatever it is, I hope that you'll think about the people that have the fingerprints on your career. My last message for you is this, is that the reason why I spend so much time thinking about the fingerprints on my career is because the more that I do this, I'm going into my 10th year of coaching baseball. The more that I do this, the more I understand that it's not about the wins and losses, as cliche as that sounds, but it's about the people that I experience with. It's about the men and moments, the men and women that I'm around every day, and the moments we create together. The scoreboard, hey, it's great if we win. We've had some nice success, but really what makes that so joyous, what makes that such a fun journey, it's about the people that you're around and the moments that you create. So again, it goes back to having contagious proximity. So congratulations to everyone that's going in this Hall of Fame and that we're celebrating here tonight. It's such a tremendous honor and frankly a privilege to be with you. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it. I love that.